We are busy with geometry of 2D shapes, especially we are going to look at congruent triangles. Now, these two shapes have all the angles the same. So 110, 110, 40, 40 and 30, 30 degrees. However, it is still not congruent. So even though the shape is the same in terms of angle sizes, the lengths are not the same, therefore it is still not congruent. If the lengths were also the same, then it would be congruent. So in fact, congruent means the one triangle can fit completely on the other triangle. We might have to rotate it, but it will be able to fit completely. So it is the same in terms of shape as well as lengths. Now, one of the key words that we need to make sure we understand is that of corresponding sides. In an equiangular triangle, that is, in other words, in equiangular triangles, in other words, triangles where the angles are the same sizes. The three angles of the one triangle has exactly the same sizes as the three angles of the other triangle. We refer to equiangular triangles. Now, in such triangles, corresponding sides are opposite equal angles. So, in other words, if you look at the 34 degrees, then that side that is opposite that angle, this red side, is in the other triangle also the side that is opposite the 34 degrees. So that would be, so AC and PR will be an example of corresponding sides because both are opposite the same angle size. Now, there are four cases that will be sufficient to be an indication that two triangles are congruent. The first one is if all the sides of the one triangle match all the sides of the other triangle. That is sufficient to a condition for congruency. Now, one can the order is are very much important. So we can say triangle PRQ is congruent. Congruent is like an equal sign plus one more horizontal line. And now order is important. So we need to go from PR to the one with where the three stripes are. So we will have to go therefore from KJ, because that's one stripe. So KJ will match PR, and then we go to the three stripes. So that would be KJL. The second sufficient condition to show that two triangles are congruent is what we refer to as side angle side. So this side AB is equal to ED. We have another side AC equal to FD, and then we have angle A equal angle D. Now what's very important here is that the angle needs to be in between the two sides. If, for example, the angle was angle B instead of angle A, then it would not be in between the two sides. It would not be sufficient to indicate congruency. So just make sure that the angle is always in between the two sides. So we can say that therefore triangle AC B is congruent to And now we have to take order again into consideration. DF is the one with one stripe, and then to E, because that has no stripes, just as we had AC to CB, no stripes. So therefore it is DFE, triangle DFE. The third case of congruency is angle side. So there need to be two angles that are matching and a side. Now we can see that in all three these triangles, all the angles are corresponding and all of them have a side that's corresponding. But now, for example, if we compare SUT against MNO, we can see that opposite 37 degrees we have the one line, whereas here we have opposite 98, and we can see obviously these two triangles are not congruent. So what is very important here is that the side needs to be a corresponding side. So if we now compare SUT to JKL, we can see that opposite the 98 degrees we have a side, and then with one line, and then opposite T we have a side with one line. So here we have corresponding sides and we have at least two angles. So therefore we can say that triangle JKL, triangle JKL is congruent, and now order is again important. So from 98 to 45, 98 to 45 degree. So it's congruent to triangle TUS. The final sufficient condition to prove congruency is a right angle hypotenuse side. So here we have an example of a right angle triangle, but in this very particular case it is actually side angle side, because we have two sides and the angle in between the sides. So if we, for example, have the right angle, the hypotenuse, and any other side, then it would be the case of right angle hypotenuse side.